Hey everybody, we are back with the HP WorkStation XW6000. This one we took a look at a while back, and we're going to go ahead and get started with ye old duster and start cleaning this case out. I'm really excited. This one, it's an XP based machine and has 2 gigs of DDR memory in it. I think would be honestly a pretty nice little XP machine. But it's got the same problem many of these old computers have. It's just caked with dust. And honestly, like the last project computer I did, I think it's going to take a lot of doing to get this cleaned out. And I want to take a look at these processors here because these Xeons I'm not super familiar with. I never used a lot of Intel processors back in the day. So I want to take a look at them here. I think they have pretty effective cooling, but I want to make sure it's all cleaned up and ready to use before we throw a hard drive in this. It's got a nice optical drive. There is no front to this case, but it is equipped with just about everything we want here. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully this duster has a good charge, and let's just start cleaning this thing. All right, so this might be the first time I've actually second-guessed myself not wearing safety goggles while blowing the dust out of a case. Tremendous amount of dust in here, and you probably can't see real well, but if we get a little closer here, you can see kind of all the visceral dust stuck on these fan blades. Overall, not too bad, but even on the graphics card here, I mean, just look at that. It's so caked with dust that, just dusting it isn't going to do the trick. We're going to have to get in there with a toothbrush and really grind this thing down. But the main board is pretty clean. There are some good-sized dust bunnies trapped in these processors and the cooling towers, so definitely want to get those disassembled so we can clean that up. The back case fans really aren't too bad, actually. There's not a ton of visceral dust on there, so I think we're going to just leave these be. But I definitely want to pull this video card, clean it, get that nice and dusted out, pull both the cooling modules off of the dual procs here so we don't risk any overheating there, and then probably just toothbrush anything I can see on the main board with it on its back. As far as the case itself goes, a pretty good amount of visceral dust on the bottom is there as well, so I'm just going to kind of hit that with a toothbrush as much as we can and hopefully eliminate most of the dust issue. All right, so we've got a NVIDIA Quadro FX. I'm really excited about this because it's an AGP, which we've been looking for a nice AGP slot for a while now to test out a couple of video cards. So we're definitely going to be able to do that in the testing phase of working this PC, which I'm very excited about. The other thing I want to note is this board is actually remarkably clean. For all the dust that was in here, I'm really surprised that the board itself isn't kind of coated as we've seen with other units. So that's kind of exciting, but definitely want to clean up this NVIDIA card. This is a pretty good video card for back in the day. So this is one that should be able to run on XP really, really well. All right, so we got the graphics card cleaned up, except for a couple of small smudge marks. This thing had a terrific amount of dust in it. Huge chunks just caked. I think if I would have tried to start this, it would have overheated and probably fried the card. So glad we cleaned that up. Next up will be just pulling these processor coolers off, getting those cleaned up, and then just giving the board an overall dust out. Honestly, all things considered, this is a relatively clean machine. I'm a little concerned with how many dust bunnies were lodged in the cooling fans or cooling fins. So hopefully those aren't as bad as I was thinking they might be, but let's check it out. Well, really glad I pulled these cooling modules off, because look at the level of dust we've got in there. Just caked. Really nasty. I'm guessing this thing probably ran forever as a media server of some kind, and you know, these processors definitely need some thermal paste, but you know, we've got dual Xeons of the era 01 chips. I'm going to go ahead and just hold off, honestly, on getting the specs on these processors. I want to be surprised when this thing boots up, but we're definitely going to give this a nice dust out with our blower, and then work on these cooling modules to get them cleaned up. But overall, again, I'm just really impressed by the quality and condition of this board. Really hoping that this boots and hoping that Windows XP runs like a dream on it, because XP is just awesome for retro gaming and is one of the more versatile systems, and probably the one I'm most familiar with too, although it's been many years since I've used it. So the other nice feature is the power reset switch is over here. That's kind of nice. I do have the side panel, of course, but I think it's going to be nice to just use this thing kind of ad hoc as we're testing it. All right, so the dusting of the cooling modules actually turned out pretty well and went pretty quick. So the design of these is pretty nice. They trap the dust and bunny it up, but it does blow out real easy, so that's a major win. And then getting the rest of the bunnies out of the case here actually was pretty easy too. So I think at this point we're pretty much good to go ahead and reassemble. I mean, it's not perfect like the last machine, but it doesn't really need to be, because it's not exactly, you know, going to be doing any real heavy lifting. But I do want to throw some compound on the processors and keep those nice and cool as we find an XP hard drive to throw on in it and get some tests rolling. So we've officially hit our first real snag. I am woefully shy of adequate compound, so we're going to go ahead and have to resume this when we get some compound shipped in. So appreciate you guys coming along with me on this ride, but we'll resume the restoration of this one when we've got the adequate material to run it without frying a processor. So keep an eye out for part 2. That should be coming later this week. If you do enjoy this content, do hit that subscribe button. It certainly does help me out in continuing to deliver as much and as quality of content as I'm capable. And if you have any thoughts or suggestions for how we might use this machine in the future other than playing retro games, I'm always open to suggestions in the comments, and do try to reply to every comment that comes across my desk. In the meantime, thanks again for watching, and have a great day.